Okay, I was inspired the other day to do this video on metalworking, different types of metalwork. It's not all the same. Metalworking is taking metal in its hard form and cutting it, bending it, welding it, drilling it, machining it, whatever you have to do in its hard form. Never good. It's like a casting where it's poured liquid or malleable hot like a forging. Anyway, some of the things I'm going to go from sheet metal work. When people talk about sheet metal work in the industry, what that basically is duct work. It could be HVAC duct work. It could be paint filtration systems. It could be a laundry chute. It's basically taking galvanized material. Sheet is always less than a 1/4 inch thick, and you're cutting it on a shear manually, and you're bending it in a box break like this. And so you can cut it in rectangles, clip the corners with little hand tools, bend it up, and make your duct work. It gets a little more complicated than that when you have to do transition work, squared round fittings, offsets. That's considered detailed sheet metal layout. That's what I did when I first moved to Texas. Beyond that, we got stampings. Everybody knows what a stamping is, right? But there's a million kinds of stampings. You get your little short-run prototype stampings where nowadays you take a laser machine and cut your blank out, cut the corners out of it, whatever. And then you'd put it in a box break and bend it up to how it has to be. That would be like a prototype without tooling. Short run stamping would be from like 50 pieces to say 2,000. That would be a short run stamping tool. So you might have a tool and a press that comes down and punches your part out from the shape. And then another tool that bends some of it, and another tool that bends the rest of it. So it's stage tool, one for cutting it out and two for maybe bending it into shape, because you can't make all the bends at one time because the bends might go in different directions. That's short-run stamping. Long-run stamping is progressive die tooling, where you have one die with several stations in it, cut the material in a strip, and you just feed the strip in one station at a time, so that every time the press comes down, completed part comes off, because it's the final stage. And then you have, light fabrication, computer chassis, whatnot. Basically taking your sheet metal parts or your stampings, and you're putting them together with something else. Maybe you're putting threaded inserts in them. Maybe it's like this here. You're using PEMs or rib nuts because it's too thin to cut a thread in it, but you have to screw something to it, so you punch an insert in it so you can attach things to it. That would be light fabrication. Then you have heavy fabrication and machining. So you've got bar stock, and you've got tubing, and you've got heavy sheets, and you cut it with a mill or a lathe, and then you cut what you need out of it, and then you maybe weld pieces together or tap threads in it. That's heavy fabrication. That could be the staircase, or that could be a big component with big heavy parts on it. There's a lot of it out there. You see it in the oil field, you see it in the mines. It's heavy fab. So that's all metalworking. So it's different shops do different things. You've got your sheet metal shop, you got your short run stamping house, you got your long run stamping house, and you got your machine shop, and you got your fab shop. Sometimes they're combined. A company can do machining and large fab, or a company could do short run and long run stampings, or a sheet metal shop may have a little bit of stamping capability. The lines are a little gray, but in general, that's what you got. So when you hear metalworking, that's what you're talking about. Material in its hard state, and it can be a lot of different variations. Just because a company does metalworking doesn't mean they do everything in metalworking. So hopefully, if you're a buyer of, fabricated parts, stampings, whatnot, that'll help you a little bit. If you need more information, you should know how to get a hold of me. Talk to you later.